Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav. Okay, we're on Mem Ches Amid Beis, 4 lines up from the bottom. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Zu divrei Reb Shimon, that the middle can go ahead and go to the first one and the third one, guys. Okay, guys, get very clear that the middle one, number 2, can go to 1 and 3. Aval Chachamim Oimrim, the Chachamim say, B'shus achas mishameshes l'shtei rishuyos, aval loi shtei rishuyos mishameshes l'b'shus achas. 2 rishuyos, guys, 1 and 3 cannot be mishamesh to by number 2. Got it? So 1 and 3 could use 2, but 2 can't use 1 and 3. So now we have this is a different opinion. This is a different opinion in the Chachamim. That when we said that you could use that 2 can go to 1 and 2 can go to 3, that is only the opinion of Rav Shimon. The Rabbanan say that that's asur. That 1 can go to 2, 3 can go to 2. But 2 cannot go to 1 and 2 cannot go to 3. So again, that the middle can't go to the 2 outer ones. Shmuel, when this was repeated in front of Shmuel, Amali, Shmuel said, Afzu divrei Reb Shimon. He disagrees with Rav. He says even Reb Shimon admits 2 cannot go to 1 and 3. The middle guy cannot go out. So we have Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, what Reb Shimon holds regarding the middle chutzner. Like Rav, the middle chutzner can go to 1 and 3. Like Shmuel, the middle chutzner cannot go to 1 and 3. And the Chachamim that argue, we're going to take it a step further. They're all asa. They're all asa. Even 1 to 2 and even 3 to 2. Okay, so let's speak out the machlokes. Let's get it. I should have made a chart, but of course I did not. So let's get a little clarity. The Chachamim will always be more machmed than Reb Shimon. The Chachamim will always be a machmed. So like Reb Shimon, number 1 and 3 can go to 2. Number 2 can go to 1 and 3. Says the Rav. However, the Chachamim say number 2 cannot go to 1 and number 2 cannot go to 3. 1 can go to 2. 3 can go to 2, but the middle guy cannot go. So it's machlokes Rav Shimon and the Chachamim, according whether the middle guy can go or not. Shmuel says, Adarabba, Rav Shimon agrees that 2 cannot go to 1 and 2 cannot go to 3. If that's the but one can go to 2 and 3 can go to 2. If that's the case, the Chachamim have to take it one more step since they're machmir and they hold no one can go to anyone. 2 can't go to 1, 2 can't go to 3, 1 can't go to 2, and 3 can't go to 2. Nothing. Nothing works, according to the Chachamim. Tanya Kavasei Rabbi Yehuda, Aliba de Shmuel, that guys, that Reb Shimon says 2 cannot go to 1 and 2 cannot go to 3. Where's the raya? Amar of Shimon, Lamahad David Doimer. What's the case of the 3 guys in the concentric circles? 3 chatzerim that are open to each other. Upsuchas shusarabim. Irvu shtaim amsois. If the 2 outside guys, 1 and 3, make an erev with 2, zu mevim b'toch beisav ocheles. 1 can go to 2 and eat. Zu mevim b'toch beisav ocheles, and 3 can go to 2 and eat. Zu machseres moisrol b'toch beisav. 1 can take the extra back from 2. Zumach says mitachla beisa, and 3 can take any extra back and go back from 2 and go back. Guys, what didn't Shmuel say? What did Rav Shimon say? But 2 can't go to 1 and 2 can go to 3. He said 1 can go to 2 and 3 can go to 2, but he didn't mention anything about 2 going to 1 or 2 going to 3. That's your raya. That it's like Shmuel, not like Rav. That's the raya we're bringing, but like Shmuel, not like Rav, because only the 2 outer ones can go in, the middle guy cannot go out. That's the raya according to Shmuel. They're all asa. We're all good? Okay. hang on a second. I'm going to draw a picture.
Hey, Penny, you're not chewing. What's going on?
It is my day today. Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, you have a middle chutzner. You have two mavois and two chatzerim on the side over here. So this under discussion, this is the exact same tushtel, guys. 2, 1, and 3. Okay, we're going to tushtel. This one in the chutzner in the middle is the same as the chutzner when you have a chutzner on the sides. So the shiler is the mavoi. Can you carry in the mavoi? And if he's going to make an eruv with this one and eruv with this one, so we're going and saying again. Why do we say this can go ahead? If this makes a chutz over here, they could use this. If this makes an eruv with this, they could use this. However, this guy can't use this, and this guy can't use that. That's going to be the raya to Shmuel's din. That's the raya to Shmuel's din. It's the exact same mitzias, just using a mavoi, not just chatzerim. For us, the Shmuel tamei. Dama Shmuel, chatzah shebein shnei muvois. A chatzah that's in the middle of two alleyways. Now, if something's an alleyway, it has to have chatzerim on the outside. Baruch, when you showed me that Shiloh on Shabbos, the Lechi doesn't help because your driveway is not a mavoi. Because to be a mavoi, you need chatzerim open up to it. Your driveway is a chatzer because its open houses are open to it. You and Penny, your houses are open to your driveway. Your driveway, therefore, is a chutzner. A lechi can't matter a chutzner, right? You need. Okay, so that's you need the source of Pesach. That's why I told you it doesn't help. Even whatever lechi you have, it's not going to help you. You got it? Good. So now, you have the Damashmul chutzner shebein shnei muvois. Irvu im shneihem. The middle chutzner made an error of both of them. Now this is our case, guys. This is the exact same case that we have. Number 2 made a with 1, and number 2 made with 3. It's the same thing. So we said that what? That he can't carry. So asurim shneim. He's also with both of them. They're mutter with him, and he's also with both of them. That's Shmuel's din that we just said. The rest of the brisa is gravy. You just had the raya. Don't get lost, guys. Again, what do you want to bring a raya to for those people who just showed up? Listen, we're being a raya. You have 3 chatzerim. According to Shmuel, if the middle guy makes with 1 and 3, he cannot carry the 1 and 3. So too over here, you have a middle chatzer. There are 2 chatzerim on the side. They can't use the alleyways in between because 2 made with 1 and with the other. Now the rest is gravy, but you got the raya.
Why don't you say that the Mavi breaks up the Chatzeros? Meaning, because the Mavi itself has different dinim of how you're able to carry into it.
Again,
so
in order to carry in a Mavi, you need a sheet of
lechi.
No, right? A sheet of beside a lechi doesn't. If you don't make a sheet of muvois, you can't carry in the Eli.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you would need a sheet of muvois. When you carry with a lechi, that means you're the only chatzah going to that mavoi. Over here, where you have different chatzerim going into the mavoi, you would have to make a Eruvin. Since the middle person has a shaykhs and this has shaykhs, you'd have to make a sheet of muvois. It's not enough a lechi. Okay. So now, the loy ervum shneihem. If you did make an erev, you did not make an erev, and a service al shneim, then no one can carry in the mavoi, which makes sense. He's accustomed. The middle chutzner is accustomed to using one of the mavayim and not the other, right? And now he doesn't make an erev. Zusha regila by asar, because he usually uses that way to make an erev. Regila by mutar. So even though he didn't make an erev, since he never uses it, so his fact that he didn't make an erev doesn't stop you from carrying. So let's say, guys, if he goes ahead and this guy in the chutzah, he always uses this. He always goes out this way. So if he doesn't make an Erev with this guy, you got a problem. But if he doesn't make an Erev this way, since he never uses this mavoy, it's cool. He can go out this mavoy, right? He go out, again, this has nothing to do with the riot to Shmuel. The first case was the riot to Shmuel. Even if he makes an Erev, he's awesome on both of them. That was the raya. Now we're just going ahead and adding a little bit, flavor to the brisa of the dinim. The Omar Rav Huna. Amar Rav Huna, Eruvin im she'en regila boy. Let's say he made an Erev with the one that he usually doesn't go out of, right? Huta regila la'atzmo, that would go ahead and make the one that he goes out of mutter. What did he do, fellas? What did he do? He went ahead. He doesn't use this one usually. He usually uses this one. But now he makes an Erev with this one. By making an Erev with this one, which he usually doesn't use, takes him all the way over here, and this guy remains okay. Because by him making the Erev over here, he was Masalik, he removed himself from the one that he usually uses. V'Omar Rabbi Rav Huna, another din, Amar Shmuel, im irva regilo atzmo, if the one that he usually uses makes an Erev, v'zeh she'en regila boy loy Erev, v'hi atzmo loy irvu. Okay, let's see the case. The one that he usually uses made an Erev by themselves. So you have, this is the one he uses, let's say. So you have these two guys, they made an Erev, which would permit them to carry over here. It's him that's the problem, right? It's him that's the problem. If you would make an Erev over here, everything would be great. Because by making over an Erev over here, he's being Masalik, he's removing himself over here, and they made an Erev so they could use it. So says the Gemara, Im Irvu Regila Atzmo, the one he's accustomed to, he made the Erev, V'zesha in Regila Boy Lo Erev, and the one that he doesn't go to, he didn't make an Erev, He Atzmo Irva, and he didn't make an Erev, Doicha say Eitzel Shein Regila Bo, and we go ahead push him over to the one he's not ruggled with. We could go in Zeh, Kaifan on Midas Sedaim. In other words, if you leave the status quo, since he didn't make an Erev with them, right? So they made an Erev, but he didn't make an Erev, so he's going to stop them from carrying guys. The fact that he didn't make an Erev, and he usually uses this, that's going to stop it. So what would we do? These guys didn't make an Erev, he didn't make an Erev. Say you're going out this way. Now, not that you could use this way, but what it'll do was, so just because you're messed up, why mess up somebody else? Midas Sedoi means you have nothing to gain. You just being mean. You're just not being good. So these guys wanted to do the right thing, but you didn't make an Erev. You're not Erev is screwing them up. It's messing them up. So what will we do? We'll tell you, listen, they didn't make an Erev. You didn't make an Erev. Make yourself go out over here. Thus, that's going to say you're Meshubah to this, and that's going to free up these guys over here who did make an Erev. So again, the raya you had from the first case. If you made an Erev with both of them, he can't go on both of them. That's the Issa. And now we just other dinim. Rabbi Yudam Shmuel, Hamakbid Ale Ruvoy. Someone is makbid on his Erev. Hamakbid Ale Ruvoy, someone is makbid on his Erev, meaning we all go ahead, we put it in one house, and I say, I don't want anyone eating my bread. I don't want anyone eating it. Ein Eruvoy Erev. Das is nicht kein Erev. It's not a good Erev. Mashimo, what's the name? Erev. The name is Erev. What does the name Erev connotate? Erev means you mix together. You were saying you're not going to go ahead and have part of it, right? Take a look at Rashi. Rashi's very good shmak. 4 lines down. 1, 2. When it gets wide, guys, 4 lines down. Erev Shemo, Sheyukulam Uravim. They all should be mixed. Umirutzim, an acceptable bow. You shouldn't go ahead and be mocha and complain and stop your friend. Ela shutafos noicha. You should be shutfin. Ve'eriva. V'harevna. It should be sweet. It should be pleasant. So your action is undermining the word Erev. So therefore, it's not an Erev. By the fact that you're makbid, it's not an Erev. That's the dinner of Shmuel. Again, who says it? The names are important. Is Shmuel. Next din, Rabbi Chanina disagrees. Amar Eruv Yerev el shenikra me anshe vardina. The last thing on earth you want to be called is an anshe vardina. That means you're cheap. It means it's psychonim. You're cheap. The men of Vardina were exceedingly stingy. They were cheap. So your Erev is a good Erev, but you say that the guy doesn't want to eat. So basically, you're a cheap guy. Amar Rabbi Shmuel hacholik es eruvoi. If someone divides his Erev, he puts it in a separate pot. Ain't the Erev. It's not an Erev. Kiman kibei shamai. We had this yesterday. The Tanya amisha shagavu es eruvoin vinas nua b'shnei kelim. 5 people, they go ahead and they collect the Erev and they put it in 2 separate kelim. Like it makes sense, guys. What's the lashon of Erev? To be mixed together. If you're in 2 kelim, thus is nishkain Erev. You're not mixed together. So therefore, this guy also, by putting in a separate kli. So in Pashtus, it would only be according to Beis Shammai, but Beis Hillel would say, Beis Hillel how he said Erev. So we want to say that Shmuel said this din according to Beis Shammai, which is fair. Afilotema Beis Hillel says the Gemara. Even Beis Hillel will be moda over here. It's not a good Erev. What's the difference? Ad kan lo kame Beis Hillel hasam el demalian lemona v'yaser. Aval heicha de palge miflak loy. Fellas, look at me. The machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel is speaking where people gave an abundance of what? Of dough or food for the Erev. You had 1 pot. They gave so much, you had to go ahead and put it in another pot. So that you're putting in another pot is simply because you don't have room in the first one. So it doesn't take away from the fact that you were together. Conversely, if you put it in 1 pot, and you dafka took it out of that pot, even Beis Hillel would be moida. That's not an Erev. That's not in the spirit of Erev. That's not being together. So even Beis Hillel will be moida in this case that it's not an Erev. Like last night we said, Beis Hillel says, when does he say it's an Erev? If it's 2 pots in 1 house. But when you remember you put the Erev last night, guys, in 2A and 2B, even Beis Hillel will be moida. It's not an Erev because it's not in the same house. So to over here, if a guy does an action, despite the fact it's in the same house, but he is physically removing the Erev, he's showing, I don't want this to be an Erev. Beis Hillel will be moida. It's not an Erev. Very good. Fred the Gemara v'tarti lamali. He just told me 2 cases that's not an Erev. 1 where the person was makbid, and 2 where the person went ahead and physically separated it. Tzricha, you need to tell me both cases. Diashmin and Hasam, if you tell me the case over there where he was makbid, you shouldn't cup it. The guy said he's makbid, therefore it's not a good Erev. Aval hacha emaloi, but over here where he physically divided it, but he didn't say he was makbid, I would say it's good. Diashmin and Hacha, if you tell me over there where he physically separated, we shouldn't palgate, miflik, because he physically separated it. Aval Hasam, it was just verbiage, it was just words. Aim aloi, so tzricha, in both scenarios, it's enough to go ahead and ruin the Erev. Think about it, guys. For this one guy, your Erev is ruined. You live in a cul-de-sac, and you have one guy that, for lack of a better term, he's not such a nice fellow. Right? Can ruin your whole Erev, It can ruin your whole Erev. Because the whole purpose of Erev is, the lashon of Erev is to be geschmack. Amr Rabbi Yehuda, b'nei Sarta, said Rabbi Yehuda b'nei Sarta, the b'nei Rav Zakai. It's so interesting. I always wonder. The Gemara always very often says where the location of the person was at the time they said this. He was leaning on the adasha. He was leaning on the bolt of the house. Over here, he stated it in the wine press. He was in the orchard. It's very often the Gemara brings in apparently extraneous information that doesn't seem to be Mailu Moirid. It could be a mnemonic to remember exactly what transpired. Sometimes we remember places, people, places, and things. I'm not sure. I don't have a great shot. I'm just throwing it out to the oilam. It's a very interesting. What's the purpose of saying it took place by the wine press? It doesn't affect the halacha whatsoever. That Shmuel says someone who divides his Erev ain't an Erev. Okay, so listen to the Gemara outside. Let's say we're making an Eruv. I got Benji, I got Shimon Gans, I got Dr. Ben, I got Ellie Greenfield. We live together, we're making an Eruv. So now you put it in my house. I don't have to give pas. Why? Ostensibly, because I have pas separate. So you see it doesn't have to be together. So how can Shmuel say hacholik if you divide the Eruv, it's not an Eruv. When you put the Eruv in my house, I don't have to give pas. Why? Because again, ostensibly, there is pas there. So you see it doesn't have to be together. And the Gemara answers beautifully. The Gemara says, I don't have to give pas at all. The reason for putting the pas there is that you're considered, you reside in the house. A person goes after their food. This is the day that all people go after their food. It's Penny Fish's favorite day of the year, he told me. That every person goes after the food. Say, oh, he's alive. Aleph, look at him. It's alive. So this is, everyone goes after the food. I don't have to put my food. It's my house. It's my house. So it's not a kasha. If Shimon and Benji and Dr. Ben would come and separate it, Taka would not be an Eruv. Because one of them went ahead and said, I don't want to be part of this. I don't have to be part of it because I am physically, it's my house. You're putting the Eruv in my house. That's the difference. That's the difference. Says the Gemara. So how can you say if you cholik the Eruv, ain't an Eruv, Amar Shmuel, Bayis Shemanichim by Eruv, ain't it Sarach Litines Apas. My timer, Lav Mishum de Amar, the Kiva de Monach Besala, since I have bread in a basket, Kiman de Monach Hachadami. It's like it's in the basket with Benji and Dr. Ben and Shimon, like we're all together. Says the Mahachanami, Kiva de Monach Besala, Kiman de Monach Hachadami. When you chaylik, when in the case of chaylik, Hachanami, let's say it's all together. Amay Hasam, Ava Pisha Ein Pas. Over there, in my house, even if I don't give bread, my timer, the Kula Hachadairi, we're all living in the house. We're all living in the house. Since we're all living in the house, it's considered an Eruv. And I'm not what? I don't have to go ahead and give bread to live there because it's mamish, my house. Now, how does Eruv work? Does it work that you acquire a piece of my house, or does it work like you're living in my house? And we'll see three nafkaminas. Again, the same scenario. Benji, Dr. Ben, and Shimon, we're all together, we're making an Eruv. Does it say that Benji, Dr. Ben, and Shimon are buying a piece of my house? Or do we say, no, they're living in my house, and automatically by living there, it becomes their house? Okay? Says the Gemara. Amar Shmuel, Eruv Mishum Kinyan. Eruv works as Kinyan, it's an acquirement, it's a Kinyan. Now, if that's the case, Fred the Gemara, great question. Fellas, what's the main material one uses to acquire something? Is money. Says the Gemara, so give me money. You don't give me bread, put money in my house. You're buying a piece of my house, put money in my house. What's the reason? When you have the kind of shvisa, you don't have money around. It's not so available. It's not, Mashenkein bread is available. Says the Gemara, Heichid the Eruv Mahu. If that's the case, but let's say you did use money. Let's say it was around and you used it. Likni, it should work. And for the Gemara, Gzeira Shema Yomu Ma Ikar. Right? The people with Gzeira, they're going to say that the Ikar is money. The Zimnin Lo Shchicha Ma, and sometimes you won't have money. Lo Yasi Le'uve V'pas. And the Asi Le'uve Le'kakula. If you're going to tell me the following, guys, it works as Kinyan. The reason we don't use money is because it's not readily available. Fred the Gemara, and in a scenario where it is readily available, why don't we use it? Says Gemara, I'll tell you why. If you use it, people are going to think that the Iker Kinyan is with money. And therefore, if they don't have money, they won't use pas. And you're going to go ahead and mevatel Eruv totally. So to avoid that possibility, we only use pas, even though money ostensibly should work, because money is the main material used for Kinyan. So that's the sheet of Shmuel that it works as Kinyan. Rabbi says, Eruv Mishum Dira. Eruv doesn't work as Kinyan. Eruv works as Dira, like you live there. My binayu, what's the nafkamina? Ikibinayu, kli upachas mishava pruta v'cotton. Outside, let's go. A kli, in order to make a Kinyan, the biggest Kinyan you made in your life when you bought your wife. You were Makadish her, but you makabel kinyan on the ksuba, what's called the kinyan suder. You picked up a pen or a dirty yarmulke from somebody. The way we go ahead and facilitate kinyanim is called suder. Like Shmuel, that Erev is a kinyan, then you should need a suder to go ahead and affect it. Like Rabbi, that it says dira, daira has nothing to do with kinyan, a suder would not work. Sveitens, pachas mishava pruta, fellas, by kinyan you have to have a value. Less than shava pruta has no value. Less than shava pruta, if you hold like Shmuel, would not work by an Erev. Like Rabba, that it works as dira, even if you did not have a shava pruta, it would work. Finally, Amid Beis, cotton. A cotton cannot make a kinyan, but if it's only dira and only transportation, a cotton could bring a cotton could in fact go ahead and bring your Erev a cotton could bring your Erev to the house, because basically all you're doing is saying, my food is here, and I go after my food. That's what makes it. My food is in the house. A person is drawn after the food. That's where it is. So if it's just transporting, you don't need das, even a cotton would be good. Geschmack? So again, 3 chilukim of the nafkamina between the machlokas Shmuel and Rabbah. Shmuel says, als kinyan, suda, you need a kinyan suda, you need a shava pruta, and a cotton would not work. Like Rabbah says, als dira, that you consider living in the house, then suda is not a problem. You don't need a suda. Shava pruta, you don't need a shava pruta, and a cotton can facilitate placing the bread in the house. Amle Abai l'Rabba says Rabbi who says als dira l'didoch kasha, u'l'Shmuel who says als kinyan kasha. I got a kasha. Hadatanya chamisha shegavu es Eruvin, 5 people that collect the erev. Kishehem molichin es Eruvim l'makam acher. Let's say they're taking it all to one place. Echad moilech l'kulam. One person can take 4 of them. Who near the kakani v'suloi? Who near the kadari v'suloi? The only person making the kinyan, therefore, is that individual. The only person living in the house is that individual. Yet, according to each one of you, they won't be able to send that person. The answer is obvious. Amalei, kasha, not to me it's fair. Rabba, the Shmuel kasha, shlichus tekula kayavid. It works out shlichus. When we sent the guy to go ahead and facilitate a kinyan, he is doing a shlichus. When we sent the person to live there, he's doing a shlichus, so he can do all. Amarav, Amrav Chama, Bar Guria, Amarav, halacha krev Shimon. What does that mean? Getting back to first base. The halacha is like if Shimon guys what? Both ways. 1, 3 with 2, 2 with 1, 2 with 3. Everything's good?
A cotton will be a problem as a shliach, no?
Who?
A cotton will be a problem as a shliach.
A cotton would be a problem with shliach if he hold kinyan. But not if he hold dira, because again, you don't need his das. He's just a transport. Misha b'derech. Okay, listen, we're going to go through this. It's just the mission is very. It's not telling you everything, but the guy's going to be a little short. Misha b'derech b'chashka, and again, it's dark. Or the Yerushalmi says he was scared. Man, he's not going to make it home. He's not going to make it within 2,000 amas of his home. If he made it within 2,000 amas of his home, he'd be home free. He didn't make it within 2,000 amas of his home. He recognizes a tree and or a fence that he knows. The Omer says, Shvisasi, and he's within 2,000 amas of that. Shvisasi tachtav. I should be kona shvisa underneath it. He doesn't give a locale. He just says underneath it, lo yama klum. That's not considered shvisa. However, he says shvisasi be'ikroi. I want my shvisa to be in the trunk of the tree, so he gives a locale. The mahalech mimakam raglav vad ikroi. He can walk from where he is up until that point if it's within 2,000 amas. He gets 4,000 amas. Big kula, a big kula. Mashmi is maka the place. He's within there, even though he's not the benish mashas. His verbiage helps. If he doesn't recognize the place, he's not an expert and he doesn't know this mishnah. The Yomi says shvisi b'mkomi, and he says my shvisa should be in my place. Zachaloi mkomo al payamam l'chol ruach. He gets 2,000 amas l'chol ruach agulos. He gets a radius, not a square, a radius. Divrei Reb Chanina ben Antignos, Chacham Moimim Meruvois, you get a bigger area because you get the square, not the circle. Kitavla Meruvois, like a tablet that is what? Meruvois. Kidei Sheyeh Nishba Nischal is obvious. Again, guys, you have a circle and goes ahead, it's in a square. What do you gain? You're gaining the corners of the square over the circle. Right? It should be in a picture that Steve probably can pop up there on that on the Pirish Chai.
Page 94. Page 94.
Page what, 94?
94.
Page 94. And there we go. The Zui Sha'amru, Ka'ani Ma'arav Baraglov, an Ani, he can be Ma'arav with his feet. He doesn't have to send pass, but a regular Mashman Ashe has to send, it can't be Ma'arav with his feet. Amar of Natmeya, Anu in Lano Elo Ani, all we have is an Ani, Rabbi Yudoime, Echanani Bechad Asher. It doesn't make a difference when it's Ani or an Asher, he can use his feet. So why do we say pass? Amru Ma'arav and pass. To make it easy on the usher that he could send the shliach. That he should not have to go. So Bez Hashem, we'll pick this up on Motzei Yontif. Is 9:30? Is that 9:30 a good time for everybody? Or too late?
It's good.
No?
9 is 2 hours after Shochabon.
What?
It's about 2 hours after Shochabon. A little bit less, but it's good.
Okay, we can make it 9:15, whatever. I'm flexible.
If not, I could continue eating during the share if I'm not finished.
Okay, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and make it 9:30. I want to wish everyone a Gemar Chasim Tova, a good Kiben Shar. Thank everybody for being part of this very, very crucial part of my life, and thank everyone for helping me grow and turn your Shemayim. Maybe a year, Batzlacha, Bracha, Gesund. Everyone should have nachas from their children. Everyone should have Parnasa Berevach, Tachas Yada Aracha V'Kadosh Baruch Hu. You should only see good in your lives. You should be zeicha to learn Torah, Chazah Torah, remember Torah, and Ashreichem. Kol Tov.
Hold on, Rabbi Stern, 1 second. Rabbi Stern, go ahead, say
Do you
it.
forgive me?
I do 3 times.
Maybe on Yom Kippur.
No, hold on 1 second. I'll switch sides. You have to say that in a different place. And I ask again.
3 times. Yes, 3 times.
Forgive me.
You got to put the Met jersey on. You got to put the Met jersey on.
Forgive me.
Absolutely. Let me give you a bracha.
No, I think I have to give you a bracha.
What's this kid? That's Dovey?
This is Dovey.
Dovey, you should have as much success as you're learning as the Yankees do.
Oh, beautiful. L'chein Lamar.
Hey, Lamar, Penny, I have that on tape. It's still recording.
Don't forget, Mar means bitter.